Today, we're going to talk about two of the more common punishment procedures that are used within the schools. I'm not necessarily endorsing them. There is a place for them, but I just mostly want teachers to understand that they are using punishment procedures, what punishment does to behaviors, and kind of what the cautions are, what you might want to consider when using them, and why punishment can be effective in the short term, but may possibly be something to consider using other methods, possibly reinforcement, actually, definitely reinforcement to be able to shape behavior and create more long term changes. When we want to think about punishment, we need to start from the very beginning and understand what the definition of punishment is. It does come from the world of applied behavior analysis. It is a behavioral term, it's scientific. So, really, what it is punishment is defined as a consequence that follows an operant response that decreases or attempts to decrease the likelihood of that response occurring in the future. So, here you'll see an antecedent. That's something that happens right before the behavior itself, and then the consequence. So, within consequence based systems, we have either reinforcement, which will increase a behavior, or we have punishment, which in this instance, you are trying to decrease a behavior. Another definition is a consequence that decreases the future frequency of a behavior. So if you have a behavior you want to decrease, such as blurting out in class, getting out of seat, that type of behavior, you would use punishment to decrease the future frequency or occurrences of that behavior. So this is that one again. You can have, for punishment, you can have positive punishment or something, a stimulus is added in order to try to decrease the behavior, or something is removed in order to try to reduce the behavior. Today, we're going to talk about negative punishment. These are two more commonly used punishments within the schools. I do want to say that punishment is something that we do want to use with caution. Please use this, I would say, sparingly. There can be some major fallout when using punishment. Again, think of yourself. How would you feel if I took away points if you were 5 minutes late to class? You got a speeding ticket. Again, it might reduce that problem behavior, such as being late to class or speeding, but it does not feel good. I don't know anyone that feels good when getting a speeding ticket. There is, however, a time and a place to use punishment, but please use it sparingly. And then on the flip side, now imagine if our society used positive reinforcement way more often. If you were caught driving the speed limit and you got a check for $150, it was just directly deposited into your account saying, "Thank you for driving the speed limit." Yes, I would be very motivated to drive the speed limit. I think most of us would be. So, ethics warning, it is recommended that you use reinforcement, again, rather than punishment whenever possible. If punishment procedures are needed, always include reinforcement procedures for alternative behaviors in the program. So when you think of alternative behaviors, you want to think of, what do I want to encourage? Those in-seat behaviors, those raising their hands instead of blurting out, those are the things that you can encourage if you are choosing to use punishment procedures. The possible side effects and problems with punishment, this is from the research. There could be emotional and aggressive reactions. Escape and avoidance behaviors may happen. Modeling of undesirable behaviors. And this is an interesting one. Overuse of punishment caused by the negative reinforcement of the punishing agent's behavior. So that's the teacher. We end up getting negatively reinforced because the challenging behavior goes away quickly. So we often will sometimes overuse punishment because it has that immediate effect where the behavior stops in that moment. And this is a couple other things to kind of keep in mind that are side effects. The effects of punishment can be temporary. So after you stop a punishment procedure, your student's behavior may reoccur. And again, it doesn't evaluate the cause of the challenging behavior. You're not really doing a functional analysis to consider what is happening. Why is this behavior happening over and over again? You're just using it without really kind of considering the why behind the behavior. Again, back to this, I would say if you choose to use punishment, really take careful data to see, is that behavior, that target behavior, like getting out of seat, is it being reduced by your punishment procedure? If it is being reduced, it's working. If not, if the behavior is staying at the same rate or getting higher, more frequent, I would definitely stop using punishment. I'd go back to the drawing board and figure out what else you can use to support the behavior. So when we think of those two most common punishment procedures that are used in school, we're going to break down timeout and then something called response cost. These are considered negative punishment because things are taken away in order to try to reduce the target behavior. Timeout, you're going to be removing access for a period of time. So basically, you're going to be taking away time. Versus response cost, you remove a specific number of reinforcers. So you're going to be taking away a certain amount of items. So timeout, also known as, timeout from the positive reinforcement environment, you're going to remove access for a period of time. So the child is losing that time within what's called the time in setting. There are 3 different types of timeout procedures. The most restrictive one is called seclusion timeout. That student is placed in a timeout room for a period of time. It's most restrictive again. And then non-exclusionary timeout is the least restrictive one. So AKA inclusion timeout, where student is kept in the time in space, but no involvement is allowed. It is the most preferred. So this one, an example of that is if they're at recess, the student's just sitting on a bench kind of near or in the recess area, but they're not allowed to be playing with the time in items. Like they're not allowed to play with the balls or play tag or whatever that might be. They've got to sit out within that same area. Exclusionary timeout, they're removed from the time in setting. They go to the hallway, a different room, a timeout room, the front office, for example. It's more restrictive. They are missing out on class time when you are using exclusionary timeout. So the next one that we want to talk about for common punishment procedures for schools is something called response cost. It's kind of like a penalty. So the definition is there's a loss of specific amount of reinforcers contingent on the challenging behavior. So there's basically a cost for responding in that challenging way. It does include removal of already earned money or token boards or tangibles. So these are things the student has already previously earned. You are taking those away. So why is it desirable? It can be effective. It's the least restrictive of all punishers that exist. It's sufficient to fast a decrease in the behavior. It is convenient, and it can be combined with other procedures, such as reinforcement, hopefully. The types of response costs or penalty that exist: bonus response costs, making additional non-contingent reinforcers available and removing them if challenging behavior is evident. So saying like, I've got a bunch of stickers here up at my desk. If people get done with their work within the 30-minute time slot, you can have some. And then if the student is not engaged, doesn't get their work done, you would say, you lost the stickers. It's not a choice for you anymore. Fines or direct fines, direct loss of positive reinforcers, example, losing 5 minutes, free time, etc. Existing cash response costs, behavior produces loss from existing collection of reinforcers. So I think of that as that common thing where they've earned their tokens, they've earned beans in a jar, pom-poms in a jar, and then you are removing those from the child. Response costs, again, you want to really consider using this, because how would you feel if you earned $100 at your work and then you were systematically having money taken out of that paycheck for things that maybe your boss deemed as infractions or things that they didn't like? Like, okay, I'm going to take $25 out because you were 5 minutes late. I would not love that. That wouldn't be motivating for me at all. But again, the definition here, actually, sorry, this is just from the research here. Implementing response costs may increase aggression, produce avoidance responses, affect collateral reduction of desired behavior, call attention to the punish behavior, be unpredictable, and suffer treatment integrity challenges. Okay, so I just had a few of these scenarios for class. If you want to look at these and consider these, that would be great. But I would say be mindful of using punishment within the classroom. It does have a time and a place. If it is working, you will see a reduction in the target behavior. If it's not working, you will not see a reduction of the target behavior. So again, I would not endlessly use something like timeout, sitting out, or losing items previously earned if it's not working. I would just go back. I would use positive reinforcement. I would use any other system besides punishment if it's not working. Thank you for watching, and thank you for being an inclusive educator.